like the perfect recipe for like newfound family. Like if Lori Gilmore writes 50 more of these books, I will have 50 more of these books as well. I will read all of them. I will enjoy all of them. It was a lot of plot twists. It was a lot of character driven stuff. She didn't make the best choices. It's 20 summers or 20 winters or 20 something. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. My name's Mabel and this is Mabel Journals. We talk about books, we talk about journals. Today I am going to be going over all of the books that I read in January, February, and March. So I think I like the idea of combining months and not just doing 1 month of all the videos, because this year my goal has changed. My goal is to read at least 50 to 60 books. I think I wanted to read 1 book a week. That's one of the goals I had. So altogether that would have been 52 books, but then 52 is just such a weird number, so I kind of rounded up to 60. I'm not really sure where we're at right now. However, all I know is that I'm not going to be reading like large amounts of books like I was in the past, where it made sense to have like one full video for all of my, all of the books I read in only 1 month. I mean, I've kind of read a lot of books already. So I read 7 in January, 7 in February, and March I read 9. So, but I'm planning on calming down. I just feel like this is the momentum of the beginning of the year. So I do believe it will calm down. We will see. All I know is that this video is going to talk about all of the books I've read so far this year. I'm currently reading Stolen Midnights by Catherine Quinn, I believe. Loving it so far. Today's, like I said, it's March 28th, so I plan to like take my time and probably finish it in April. So I'll talk about it in my April wrap up. But without further ado, let's just jump into the books. I'm so excited to finally talk books with you guys. So this was a book I actually read starting 2025 and I didn't finish till 2026. This is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali Hazelwood so much. I feel like all of her books, I just breathe them in immediately, whether I enjoy them fully or not. This is one of those where I was like not 100% there. In an effort to not give too much away, because this is the second book in like an installment series that Ali Hazelwood has. We're at a wedding in Italy and a lot of things are going wrong. There is this romance that is kind of unspoken of because of the fact that there is a large age gap. Now, I had no problem with the age gap in this book. That's part of the reason why I wanted to read it. But the part that like kind of got me is that I wasn't a fan of how it transitioned, because they felt guilty about this age gap and then all of a sudden it transitioned to something else, and it just felt like kind of ungenuine in my opinion. And so I wasn't like 100% believing what was happening in this book, or believing that that was like kind of like the toll that the characters took. Enjoyed the vibes. I felt like Ali Hazelwood did an amazing job writing the vibes of like summer in Italy. Kind of makes me want to go there, not gonna lie. It does follow like a dual timeline, so we go back in time and then we get into the present as well, so that you kind of understand where a lot of the behavior is coming from. But other than that, I wasn't a huge fan of this particular book. Not the top of my Ali Hazelwood reads. The next book I read in January was A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I loved this book so much. I think Sangu is becoming one of my favorite authors. But I read a very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, I think it is. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I loved it. I gave it a 5-star. I thought it was like so well done. I am a huge fan of like found family tropes, and I love cozy romances. So I feel like her books combine those two things. So in this book, we follow Sarah, and Sarah is like this magical, powerful witch, and she uses her magic to do something that she shouldn't have done and can't really take it back. So throughout the book, she's trying to kind of just like undo that and get her magic back, because she feels like her magic is her identity in some ways. She's also running this inn, which has like this magical force that doesn't allow people to find it unless they're like not looking for it but need it, which to me was just such an interesting idea. And of course, it's like the perfect recipe for like newfound family. So that's exactly what happened in here. And I think it was just so well done. I very much enjoyed this read. I thought it was quick, cute, cozy. So the next book I read is Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. This I would say is not for everyone, honestly. It is a holiday romance, as you can tell, but it's also, in my opinion, very like Hallmark movie coded. So in this one, we follow Harriet. She is basically Christmas as a person. She's a very empathetic person. Like, you can definitely get a glimpse of a person who cares about people and cares about things of life, like Harriet. And so I was very confused when the ghost of Christmas past basically type of person shows up and tells her, hey, we have to look back into your history and see what's going on. Like, you made a mistake, something like that, whatever. And so that ghost, his name's Nolan. And basically he passed away a few years ago, like many years ago, I think like decades ago, before Harriet. He got a job as a ghost that kind of just like visits people in their life and tries to help them like mend their ways. And so it's very a Christmas Carol coded, like very like Christmas Carol kind of like retelling type of situation, where he's just like taking her back in time and showing her like scenes from her past. And he notices that there's not much he can really do to help her, because she doesn't seem like the type of person that needs to be told like something that she needs to remedy. If anything, other people need to remedy how they acted towards her. But that's kind of like where we're at. And I'm not going to give anything more because I feel like that's kind of the point of reading the book. The next book I read in January is Spiral, and this is by Bal Cabra. I read Collide by her and I really enjoyed it, but this one kind of missed the mark for me a little bit. I felt like... So we follow Sage, who's a ballerina, and then we follow Elias, I think. Yeah, Elias, who is a hockey player. And so Sage is trying to like make a name for herself, trying to just be a little bit more like out there, and just, you know, being a ballerina is her dream. So she wants to become, you know, not necessarily, her goal isn't to be famous, but her goal is to be successful in her role. And Elias had just secured a deal with like a very, like, he was just drafted by some hockey team or something. I think what I didn't enjoy about this is that it felt like Sage was more interested in being with Elias than Elias was in Sage. And if you follow me on Goodreads, then you know that I started this July 2025 and I didn't finish it until January 2026. So it took me a really long time to get through this book. I probably should have DNF'd it. That's one of my goals of this year, to DNF books if I'm like 50 or 100 pages in and I'm not enjoying it. I didn't do that with this one because I just felt like I just spent so much time on it that I kind of wanted to just see if maybe it changed, or maybe if something happened that kind of like, you know. And this is also part of like an interconnected series. Not necessarily have to read, they're like standalone series basically, like you don't have to read each one of them, but the characters do show up in other books. So I didn't want to like skip this one and then like miss out on something. I just wasn't a fan of this one. I ended up giving this a 2-star. So the next book I read is The Gingerbread Bakery, and this is by Laurie Gilmore. If you're not familiar with this series, it is basically a series of small town romances that are kind of interconnected. The characters show up in all of the books. Starts with the pumpkin spice latte, and this is the most latest one. There's one coming out this year, I believe, the Daisy Shop, something. I don't know what it's called, but it's coming out, I believe, this year or the beginning of next year. I don't know. It's kind of inspired by the town in Gilmore Girls. I personally didn't watch Gilmore Girls, so I'm just going off of like what I hear other people talk about and what the authors said, I believe, as well. I'm enjoying it so much. It's like every single business in this town has like people in it, and it follows their story in each book. So in this one, we follow the Gingerbread Bakery, and it's Annie's book. And this is kind of like a second chance romance. So she had like a relationship with one other person in the town. He like left. And when he left, he kind of forgot all about her. He returned. She's throughout the whole entire series, she's been super just like hot and cold with him, and he's been trying to kind of remedy that relationship and hasn't been able to figure it out. So in this book, it kind of explores their relationship. There's a wedding from one of the past characters that we've seen before. So it's just super cute. I mean, I've seen a lot of people start this series and just like quickly like watch them like dwindle down and just say like, I don't enjoy this book. Like now I'm like done with this, blah, blah, blah. For me, I feel like I'm more and more engaged in these books. I feel like if Lori Gilmore writes 50 more of these books, I will have 50 more of these books as well. I will read all of them. I will enjoy all of them. It is cozy. It is comfy. It's fluffy. It's sweet. The next book I read is The Academy, and this is by Ellen Hilderbrand and her daughter Shelby Cunningham. So we follow students of a boarding school called Tiffin Academy. Actually, not just the students, but we also follow the staff. We follow administration. We follow just anything that has to do with the school. We get a perspective on at least one of the characters within it. And I think that that's what made this book so interesting to me. There's mystery, there's drama, there's plot twists, it's very engaging. And I think right when you're about to get an answer from one perspective, you switch to the next. This fresh wound of a student that just passed, and there's like a lot of mystery behind what happened with her. It's character driven, but there is some plot to it. So I ended up giving this a 4-star. I do want to continue the series because it is a series. And we have come to the very last book that I read in the month of January, and that is We Who Will Die by Stasia Stark. So in this one, we follow Arvel, and she is basically sort of person, think Hunger Games type of champion. She uses her her expertise and her experience knowing how to fight and knowing how to defend herself to be a bodyguard, because she's trying to earn money to kind of help her brothers. One of her brothers has like this deadly illness, and he needs like this sort of like antidote potion type situation so that he doesn't die. And so every day that she works, she tries to get him a new one. And he's basically at the edge of his life because of the fact that, he's reliant on this medicine. One day after work, she ends up not being able to find she can't find the potion. Someone had just bought out all of the shops that she frequents. And so that's when a vampire shows up and tells her, hey, I have the potion, I'll give it to your brother, but you need to do some things for me. And once she agrees to this binding, that's kind of where the story starts. What really got me with this one is that it said it was like Roman inspired, and then also vampires. And we got a good job of like understanding the vampires, but I didn't really get the Roman vibes in here as much. I also felt like the world building lacked a lot, and I had initially given this a 4 because I thought in the next book we'll probably get the world building. But then I read other books from her, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm just like, I kind of really wanted to like really understand this world a little bit more because we really didn't get a lot of information. It was a lot of plot twists. It was a lot of character driven stuff, which I enjoy. However, I needed the world building to kind of get it all together in my head. I'm at a point where I really need to know what ends up happening, but I also am a little frustrated that I don't have a good grasp on what the world looks like. So that concludes the books I read for January. For February, I started with Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. It gave me like when you're like taking out the petals from like a flower and you're like, he loves me not, he loves me not. So we follow Claire. She basically like left her job and temporarily moved back home with her mom in a different town to kind of like help her out a little bit. And she ends up taking this job because her sister, Natalie, I believe, passed away, was unalived, and even though the mystery was technically solved, it never really sat well with her, and so she's always been looking for opportunities to kind of get close to like what her sister was doing and how she felt, because she kind of wants to just like relive her sister a little bit. I think this book did a really good job of kind of creating this world, this atmosphere where you kind of have like nowhere else to go but forward. And our main character was she didn't make the best choices, but you kind of see where she's going kind of thing. She finds a diary. She ends up learning more about the people that she works for, and a little bit more. And a lot of things remind her of her sister as well. So kind of took on a docuseries type of vibe, which I enjoy docuseries as well, and murder mysteries and stuff like that. And so I thought that this was done super, super well. So the next 4 books I read are all romance. The first one is the next installment in the Collide series by Bal Cabra, which is Revolve, another hockey romance, but she's a figure skater instead. And I had not read Icebreakers before I read this, so to me it seems like a very original idea, but now having read Icebreakers, which has been out for a while, some of the themes in there is in this one too. I think they're different enough, to be honest with you, but this particular one I was very happy with. I loved the characters. I loved the girl, the girl specifically, Sierra. I don't know, like I really liked her personality. I loved these two together, and basically we follow Sierra, who ends up getting an injury, and she qualifies for the Olympics, so she needs a partner, and her partner that she had dropped her, and she basically blames herself for having been dropped. And so he kind of went off and had another partner to work with in his skating career. And so she's kind of left looking for someone to replace him so that she can continue to qualify and continue to get her dreams, you know, wherever, whatever. And our guy, what's his name? Dylan gets kicked out of the hockey team that he's in because of something that he did, and needs to prove that he's still a good person, I guess. I don't know. And the best way to do that is to basically volunteer and do something that, you know, will help someone. And Sierra needs a partner, so he ends up helping her. He has some experience because his sister did figure skating as well, and he helped her. So they're kind of like work really well together. I ended up giving this a 3.5, 3.75. I thought it was really good. I thought it was cute. It was definitely a huge step up from Spiral, which is the last book I talked about. And I loved the vibes. Collide is still my favorite. I think I'd give that one a 4-star. It was the first book in the series. But this one is, it's getting better. And I love ice skating tropes. Like I love hockey romance tropes. I think they're just so fun. And this is college as well, so I also love that trope too. So I just thought it was done really, really well. The next book seemed so promising. It's Only Lovers in the Building by Nadine Gonzalez. The idea was perfect. Honestly, it's basically two people who love books, tweet about it, talk about it. There's like this app called Book Something where you basically write how you feel about a certain book, and everyone's just like, oh my God, basically Twitter, but for books. And so these two people end up, you know, writing about it and writing about books, and then they have their own podcast, and, you know, romance is in the air between them. It just sounded like a great read. But my God, I'm trying not to give too much away, but I guess what I will say is this. So our main character, her name is Lily, and Lily basically goes on a work trip in Miami and ends up quitting her job because of something that happened, and decides, I'm going to stay in Miami because that way I can kind of just enjoy the rest of my summer and not have to worry about the consequences of this decision that I made. And so she does that, and she makes friends, and she makes, you know, other type of relationships. And it just feels like, you know, she's there for less than 3 months, but everyone acts like they've known her all their lives. And it's just doesn't feel genuine to me. And so the whole entire time I'm just like, like it just didn't sit well with me. I couldn't grasp the idea that you just met these people 2 weeks ago and they're just like acting like you've been friends forever. Like you know each other forever. And that's kind of like where it is. The next book I read is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I love this. I love Ashley Poston. I think she does such a good job with like the magical realism in romance. So we follow our main character, what's her name? Florence. And Florence has like this magical ability to see ghosts. So she just came out of like this terrible relationship, so she's like not really into romance, but she's a ghostwriter, which I think is funny as well. She's a ghostwriter for this woman who writes romances. I don't want to give any more away because of course it's going to be too much, but I very much enjoyed it. I thought it did a very good job. It's just, you know, it's a perfect book because it's just like it's small, it's, you know, gets to the point. I just loved it. And I love the thing here. It says romance is dead, but this isn't what she had in mind. Think about that. Think about that. Okay. We have finally gotten to my first 5-star of the year. Yes, February, I finally have my first 5-star, and it is none other than Real by Kennedy Ryan. I love Kennedy Ryan. I will always love Kennedy Ryan. Kennedy Ryan is one of my favorite authors, and so she did not disappoint with this book. I ate this up. I think I read this in like less than a day or something like that. I don't know. I loved it. I ate it up. I regret not annotating this one, but I just did not have time in February to annotate anything. We follow Neva, and she has a terrible ending to her romantic life. And so she ends up wanting to just kind of escape it all. And so she jumps into her dreams, which is her becoming an actress. And she fully gives herself into this, especially since her romance life didn't turn out as she wanted. And so she's doing her thing. She's in Broadway. She's just living her life. And she's not where she wants to be, obviously, yet, because I think she's like an underwriter or an understudy, I think is what it's called, for another person. And this night they happened to not be available, so she had to perform. And luckily, Cannon Holt, who's a famous film director, ended up watching this. And he has been looking for like the main actress in this very, very important documentary or movie that he's filming. And when he sees her, he's like, this is the main character that I've been looking for everywhere. And a lot of people are just like, why are you picking her? She does not make any sense in this role. She's way too young. She does like plays. She doesn't do film. And obviously there's some difference there that I don't know about, but there is. And so I ate this up. I thought it was so good. I feel like these characters just did so well. And Kennedy Ryan does such a good job of just like combining, of having trauma in her books, but not in a way that kind of like scars you, more just like you learn more about these types of situations. And it was just done so well. I cannot wait for Score to come out, the second one. I'm debating if I should buy the new real cover so that it matches my new Score cover when I buy the new one, or if I should just stick with this. This one is also signed by Kennedy Ryan. So that's another reason why I'm like, should I even bother get another real book? But I do love the covers of those as well. So we'll see. Anyway, I gave this a 5-star. I had everything I wanted. It was exactly what I needed. I cried. I laughed. I want the next one to come out. It's just everything that I needed, this gave me. And I cannot ask for more. The next book I read is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did, to be honest with you. So this is historical fiction, but I'd also venture to say that it's women's fiction as well, because instead of following, the almighty Shakespeare, we follow his wife. And it kind of takes a turn, like we get a very good glimpse as to what she went through and what she did. And ultimately we understand a little bit more about what it feels like to be a mother. Like I just became a mother this year. So having read this book and understanding a little bit more of like what that looks like and how you suffer, but you also live beautifully, and the most tired I've ever been, but it's the most love I've ever felt. It's just all of those different things in this book. And I think that's probably why I resonated so much with this book. Hamnet is one of her children, and we kind of follow his, what happened to him and why Shakespeare ended up writing this play about him and how she felt about it. And if you've ever watched Hamilton, like the play, I feel like it's similar kind of to that, because the whole time you think it's about this person, and then it ends up being about the female, which the woman in the situation, and you get a little bit more of a better glimpse as to what actually happened and what transpired during that time, because the whole time you had the male's perspective and now you have both. So I just really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was so well done. I have not seen the movie yet, so I think I will do that at some point. So the last book I read in the month of February, I actually read through my Kindle, and that was A Court So Lovely and Cruel. And I just loved this book so much. It's also by Stasia Stark. Okay, so we follow our main character. Her name's Priska. And in this world, basically, everyone is born, because we have Fae, we have humans, and then we have hybrids. And so the Fae I think all of them are given powers. Correct me if I'm wrong if you've read this, but I'm pretty sure everyone is born with some type of power. And when you're born with a power, you immediately have to give it back to the gods. And when you turn, I think it's 20 summers or 20 winters or 20 something, I don't know. A certain amount of years pass, and then you're given back a portion of your magic that you lost. And so in this situation, Priska her magic was never taken away. So she's had it. So she's been like hidden for a very long time. Her mom's a seer, and her brother, who just turned the age where he gets his magic back, is a healer. And so a lot of like kind of what happens is just like her figuring out like what her magic is supposed to do, why she still has her magic. Her mom never really told her why she still has it. And so there's so many plot twists, there's so many turns. Like she ends up having to like leave her home and the family she's always known to kind of just like escape. And then she meets up with other people on her way. And so it does have a little bit of newfound family. It has romance. It has very well done world building, and it's very, very good. So starting off where we kind of left off last month, I started A Court This Cursed and Empty on my Kindle. And this is the second book in the Kingdom of Lies is the series. And so this is the second book in that series. And this one kind of, I don't want to give too much away. It continued where the other one left off, and a lot of twists and turns that happen at the very end of the book were revealed in the beginning of this book, which I appreciated. I'm just so thankful that the whole series is out already. At the end of every series, at the end of every book, we're left on a cliffhanger that I'm just like, I need to know what happens. Like I said, it continues off where it left off. You get a better understanding of the world. A lot of other things happen. If you enjoyed Throne of Glass, I feel like you might enjoy this series. That's all I'm gonna say. The next book I read is Carrie Soto is Back. So we follow Carrie Soto, and she's basically this tennis player who is absolutely like amazing. She is like the best of her generation, the best of the women, and even some men, or most men, or all men, I don't know. But the point is, she is a die-hard tennis player. She doesn't dabble in friendships, she doesn't dabble in romance, she just, does what she has to do. But the most important thing for her is tennis. It explores like her journey to figuring out that failure is still success in some sort of way. And I just thought it was very well done. I think it went really well. I actually did have a chance to annotate, which I'm very happy about. I think the only reason why I gave it a 3-star is because I felt like a lot of the dialogue that was in Spanish didn't really make too much sense to me. And I speak Spanish, so I just felt like it wasn't done the way that I would have done it. I know that there's a lot of different dialects. I believe they're Colombian. I don't remember where they're from, but there was something missing for me in terms of like the dialogue that was in Spanish, and parts that were supposed to be very like loving and sweet didn't feel that way, because I was just a little bit like, I don't know if I would have said that way. I don't even know if that makes sense kind of situation. Again, maybe it was the dialect, maybe it's just like me like not knowing, but it just didn't, I wasn't convinced. That's all I will say. The next book I read was The Friend Zone. I wanted to get to the series before Abby Jimenez's new book, The Night We Met, comes out. Spoiler, I didn't get to finish the series. I only have one more book left because I also read the playlist, the Happy Ever After playlist. So The Friend Zone, initially I wasn't like a huge fan of this one because in my opinion, there was a cheating trope, even though it was emotional technically. And it just felt like a little bit weird to me, a lot of the stuff that was happening in the beginning. So basically, we follow Kristen. And Kristen, I love her personality. I think she's a great character. Her boyfriend is drafted, and a lot of their relationship has been long distance. But Josh, who's best friends with her best friend Sloane's husband, he's basically a friend-in-law, if you think about it. He shows up and she automatically feels like this gravitation towards him, automatically feels like, I want to flirt with this guy. This guy is handsome. Like something that's been missing from her life for a long time, this guy has. And her best friend Sloane does not like her current boyfriend, Tyler. So she is like hoping that Josh fills in the shoes because that's her husband's best friend. My thing is, if you have a boyfriend who's literally going to, so the other thing is that her boyfriend is going to like stop being enlisted or leave his, he's going to stop being in the army to be with her. And so it just, to me, the whole time, I'm just like, this guy's dropping the thing that he loves to be with you. And you're just like flirting with this random guy. Like, just wasn't a fan of that whole situation. And the crazy thing about it, that's not even 5% of the book. The book keeps going after that. And there's just so much that ends up happening. Kristen, her main thing is that she cannot have children in the way that she would like to. I'm not sure what it is exactly, like the exact terminology of what she has, but it's so painful for her that she's planning on removing her uterus. That obviously is going to cause her to not be able to have biological children. That's basically where we're at. Towards the very, very end, something absolutely crazy happens that you do not expect at all. But that sets you up for the next book, the Happily Ever After playlist, which I'm not going to talk about a lot because if the minute I mention what this is about, you kind of get an idea what happens in the first one. So what I will say is these two are kind of like a team. And if you're going to read the series, or if you're going to read any Abby Jimenez book in any order, I think you can read any Abby Jimenez book in any order you'd like if you're okay with like tiny little spoilers. But this you cannot read out of order. You have to read The Friend Zone first. And then, like, I wouldn't even look up what this is about. The next book I read is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I really enjoyed this one. This is actually a prequel to the Divine Rivals trilogy. I think Letters of Enchantment is the name of the duology. I loved that duology. That was a 5-star duology for me. And so this one is the prequel to it and basically explains how that other one existed. Though we don't get too much of that, in my opinion, in here until the very, very end. The buildup is crazy and the buildup is great, and I just absolutely loved this. So we follow our main goddess, Matilda. So Matilda is born a messenger, like that's her power as a goddess, and so she's not seen as a very threatening type of person or god. And the thing is, the goddesses and gods in this world are able to steal powers from other gods by killing them. And so Matilda kind of gets away with not being killed for her power because not a lot of people care about her power or understand how powerful it can actually be. And so she ends up having dreams with a mortal, a guy in the real world, like our world. And that kind of connects her to what's happening in that world and also shows her the things that she's capable of in her own like magical world. Also, there's just like so many different worlds within one world. And I think Rebecca Ross does a really good job of explaining how everything fits in together and how everything works. Of course, there's romance in this. Like I said, the world building is phenomenal. And it is a prequel to the Divine Rivals series, the Letters of Enchantment. If you enjoyed that series, you'll definitely enjoy this one. I gave this a 5-star. Like I said, it was absolutely amazing. The next book I read this month is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I read Revolve, which I felt like once I read this, I'm like, they're very similar. Even the cover is very similar to both of them, but they are, in my opinion, like different enough. So this one follows Anastasia, who's basically a type A person. Like she needs everything to be done like to perfection. His name Nate is a hockey player who kind of just like goes with the flow type of situation, but one of the ice skating rinks in the college gets messed up, and all like both the skating team and the hockey players and anything else that has to do with ice has to share the same skating rink. Anastasia's pissed because she already has her whole schedule planned, she has her whole thing done, and Nate is more just like chill, like we'll figure this out. I do want to continue the series as well because I think she has Wildfire and Daydream out as right now, and those are, I heard, are very good as well, so I definitely want to read them. The next book I read in the month of March is Soul Searching by Lila Sage. We follow Collins. Collins has a twin, and her twin and her family can all see ghosts. She actually is moving back home, and I believe she's a photographer, and she can see ghosts, she can see like all of these things, but she like interacts with them very well. Like she loves seeing them, she loves being a part of them, kind of like how you enjoy conversation with other people. She enjoys conversation with ghosts, but then something happens where like little by little she stops being able to like hear them and see them, and she's a little spooked out as to what that means. So she ends up taking this job with this guy, what's his name? Brady. And so Brady and her end up kind of teaming up, and he's an upholsterer or something like that, where he like fixes furniture or something like that. And her parents own like a vintage type of shop where they also like restore furniture, and they've used his services in the past. So that's how they kind of like know each other, and he becomes like a part of the family a little bit. And so her coming back, she's just like, who are you? Why are you here? Oh, you have a job? I'll take the job. And so something happens between them, of course, but a lot of things happen within the family as well. And I think it's interesting, like, you know, she solves like mysteries that are happening within her town because she's able to kind of like understand like a little bit of what's happening. And I thought it was cute. Do I love it as much as the Rebel series, the Rebel Ranch series? No. I gave this a 3-star. I thought it was okay. It was enough for me to finish the book and not feel like, you know, weird about it. But I will say that people from the Rebel Rebel series do make a little cameo in here. So I did enjoy that. I did very much enjoy that. And then the ending was very interesting because it kind of like brought everything together. And so the next book I read, I also read in my Kindle, and that is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And this is by Sophie Irwin. I really enjoyed the main character, Lydia. It was just so hilarious. Like I was like laughing the whole entire time. Lady Lydia, or Lydia, is like forced to marry this guy. Going in order to make it so that she doesn't have to marry him. And so she does like all of these questionable things, wears ridiculous dresses, acts in ridiculous ways, pretends she doesn't know things. And it's just, to me, it's really cute and hilarious. And obviously it has a happy ending at the end. So if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. But I thought it was so cute, and I thought it was done very, very well. And the last book I read this month is Honeysuckle by Bar Fred Mantel. Thank you to Bloomsbury for sending me a finished copy of this, along with a lot of cute goodies. This book really surprised me. So it's kind of like advertised as like a horror, which it technically is, but I feel like it's just so much more than that. It's not creepy. I mean, it's not scary. It's a little creepy, but it's just interesting. It gives you a lot of room for discussion, and I feel like that's just so important after reading a book. Sometimes you want to like talk about it, and you want to talk about like the moralities of certain things. One of our main characters, his name's Rory, and he has an older sister by like 6 years named Wynn, who, I mean, they're 6 years apart, so they basically don't have a lot in common. And so as they grow older, Rory still wants to play outside and still wants to do kid things. And Wynn is just like, I'm in high school, dude. Like, I'm not going to be running around with you, whatever. And so he's just like, well, please play with me. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to make you someone to play with. And she ends up creating a flower girl who is, I believe it's called, Bloody Wet. So she ends up creating a flower girl, or a girl out of flowers and nature and leaves and all of that stuff. Anything that's happening in that season, she collects it and she creates this person, or this flower girl. And we later learn that her name and the name of these people, or that she created, is called Bloody Wed or something like that. And for short, they call her Day. And we do get like her perspective as well. It goes back and forth from Rory and Day. And basically what happens is that, you know, obviously she's created that season, and as the season changes, she changes and she starts to die a little bit. And so Rory's just like, hey, like, I need a friend to play with. Like, why is she dying? Like, why is this happening? And at first, Gwen is just like kind of against reviving her with the new season's things. And then she ends up doing it anyway, because obviously it's her brother and she wants her brother to be okay. So she ends up switching her to be an autumn girl, and then every season she switches him. And then there comes a point where she can't continue to do that because she's in school and she can't keep coming back and forth during the seasons. So she teaches Rory how to do it. Because he created her, does she have to just adhere to anything that he wants? Does she have to do all the things that he wants? Does she have to change in the ways that he wants? Does she have to be in the locations that he wants? So it kind of grapples with that kind of conversation. And I felt like it was done very, very well. And the ending was just so satisfying. So I absolutely loved this one. I thought it was so, so good. I think I gave this a 5-star because I cannot stop thinking about this book. So definitely enjoyed it. Definitely recommend. And it was just a great end to my March reads. So that concludes all of the books that I read in January, February, and March. That's the very end of this video. If you have any questions on any of the books, or if you've read any of these books, please let me know. If you stay to the very end of this video, I'm going to bring back those icons and emojis. Put this emoji. I haven't decided what I want it to be yet, but I'm going to put it here. I'm going to make this so that it's easier for me for later. I haven't decided what it is, but whatever this is that I am holding, please put that at the end so I know that you stayed till the very end. And I will see you all in the very next video. Thanks. Bye.